Well, hello everybody. Or should I say every creature. Welcome to Roleplay 101. I am Professor Inkart, and I'll be your guide to the wonderful world of role-playing and world-building. Some of you here may have experienced role-playing, while others of you may have none, but have an interest. For those of you with experience, I welcome you to expand your horizons, and I am excited to help you with that prospect. For those of you who have joined us but have no experience, I'm glad you've decided to join this class so that I may introduce you to the amazing world of role-playing. I'm sure many of you have questions, but allow me to pose my own. What is role-play? Here in Second Life, role-play is a collaborative story writing system that may sound boring, as explained, but allow me to continue. Role-play as a whole is something far more than just two people writing a story. Any time in the past you've played pretend, you've role-played. Perhaps on the playground you and a friend decided to be superheroes and run from place to place as such. That was a taste of role-playing. Perhaps you had a tea party with a few toys and friends. Role-playing. If you've played games before, things like Skyrim or perhaps even Breath of the Wild, that too is a form of role-playing as well. You are thrust into the position of a character whom you are not, and given choices and decisions to make as said character. While perhaps not as elaborate as a full-fledged roleplay, it still counts. Role-playing is part of growing up, even if some don't want to believe it. Playing pretend and make-believe. Most do grow out of it, and there's nothing wrong with that. But for those of us that don't, role-playing becomes a hobby, a way to express ourselves and perhaps even deal with difficult emotions. I know I've had a few vent session RPs, or use some sort of emotion to fuel a scene. I've been role-playing for 20 years myself. I started at a young age, and it quickly became my favorite hobby. In fact, it's the entire reason I joined Second Life as well, as my own sim. I'm here to roleplay, and being able to do so is what makes me smile. And in time, I hope that it can make each and every one of you smile as well. The stories told through roleplay can be fantastical and whimsical adventures, or something as simple as a how do you do between two characters. In this class, I plan to teach you the following. How to create your first character and fill out applications. How to roleplay in various situations. How to world build and help build upon pre-established lore. How to write with proper grammar and punctuation. How to properly operate in combat RP. How to follow the fundamentals of roleplaying. How to push your character forward with development, and much, much more. Now, I'm both a very relaxed and hands-on kind of teacher. Those of you that are part of this class may find the homework a touch odd, as it will involve actively participating in roleplay, either amongst yourselves or in groups with your fellow classmates. For those of you that are here today to enjoy a bit of role-playing or class-based shenanigans, I welcome you. I'll admit I'm just a touch nervous, but that's to be expected. First-class jitters and all that. What I'd like to pose to you now is Equestria at large. We are mostly horses here, save a few extra creatures here and there. We'll take this wonderful place we're in is in Equestria somewhere. I'm not sure exactly where on the map, but it's somewhere. So I pose to you this question. If you had to make a pony, or a creature, that attended Winnie Hollow University, what kind of pony or creature would that be? What are their motivations for being here at the school? What is the point of their character? What is their goal? All of these things you have to think of when you're creating a character for a roleplay, or just a character in general. I'm sure Twiggy over here didn't expect that eventually her pony would become an alicorn of partying. I for sure didn't see it coming, but, you know, it happened. Kaida over here, I'm sure you didn't expect to be a doodle at some point with your wonderful cow, or pony, or whatever creature you may be. Sometimes it's hard to tell, I apologize. Or even Cinder or Belfry over there. Manny. Anybody. Sky's the limit when roleplay's involved. So, today's class will be focusing on 3 very important things. The fundamentals of roleplay, which involve 3 rules, the beginning of character creation, and building upon pre-established lore. The pre-established lore we'll be working with today is, in fact, My Little Pony. Friendship is magic. Because, what other lore would we use? We are a pony. So, before we begin with the actual course, I will open the floor to a few questions. Feel free to ask it text or in voice, and I will do my best to answer whatever questions you may have. Any questions? That's a good question, Barky. The hardest part of role-playing is finding a role-play partner, or a place to role-play in. Thankfully, Second Life is a wonderful place to find role-play. Many various role-playing sims exist, with all their own lores and all their own stories. It's a matter of finding something that fits you, what kind of roleplay you're interested in. Do you want high-flying adventure? Do you want a fantasy story, or perhaps a sci-fi exploration? Maybe just a down-to-earth, person-to-person, everyday slice of life roleplay. It's all a matter of finding that which you desire. Alternatively, if you're not on Second Life, Discord and forums exists. I, for one, run a Dragon Ball Z Discord, which is a long-running roleplay. But using Discord, you can find many roleplay servers, along with other websites that do something similar. But I personally just use Discord. If you ever have trouble finding a roleplay you want, you can always look for other roleplayers. Most roleplayers on Second Life have it's somewhere in their profile that they are in fact roleplayers. But if there's a specific kind of roleplay you want and you're looking for it, I'm sure that there's a sim on Second Life that can find it for you. That can suit whatever needs you have. And if you're looking for ponies stuff, I may be able to aid in that venture. Okay. Kaida's question is a good one. How do you make sure you're not taking up most of the RP with all of my paragraphs? Well, that is a tough one. Sometimes it can seem like you drown out other posts. But I can assure you that long posts, short posts, even one-off singular posts are all valid forms of roleplay. Sure, it may seem that you might be stifling someone else's post, but as long as you're contributing to the story overall, I don't think most will mind. I've very rarely seen any issues with long posts. In fact, long posts usually mean that there's going to be longer posts responding to it. Longer posts can sometimes encourage other people. I can speak English. Can encourage other players to increase their own word count, or even perhaps push them to match your own. There are times where it may seem overwhelming. I will admit, I've been overwhelmed in the past by massive posts. 4 times the length that I've ever seen, and I was a little, extremely worried that I would not be able to live up to the quality that they have put out. But, as long as you post what you are comfortable with, I don't think there will be a problem. I don't think there should be a problem. Writing is just that, it's writing. Roleplay is for fun. You're here to tell a story with those around you and entertain both yourself and whoever might be reading the roleplay. Is roleplay over mic a valid form of RP? Yes, it is. I can tell you a story for this one. So, I personally used to do Grand Theft Auto 5 roleplay, which sounds crazy to think of when you hear it said out loud. But that is a game that usually doesn't have a system like that for role playing. But the players who have taken the game and modified it to be a role play have made it so 90% of the role play you're doing is entirely voice based. I played a villain named General Mayhem, who went around robbing banks, causing trouble, and being a general nuisance. And it was entirely text-based with very little gameplay. It was mostly just standing around being a character. There is nothing wrong with completely in-voiced roleplay. In fact, it's another form of LARPing, live-action roleplay, just without the live-action bits. Bark, you want pony stuff? Well, there is Pony Town, which allows you to roleplay as a pony. The rules are a little strict. In my, I haven't looked recently, but from what I remember back in the day, back in the first wave of ponies, Ponytown Roleplay is a place you can roleplay, or, if you want something a bit more adventurous, there is Tales of the Winding Woods, which is my personal role-playing sim, which I have opened to the community to play into their heart's content. We're canon adjacent, so there are a few rules you have to follow for the most part, but I'm pretty open to whatever crazy idea you might come throwing at me. Oh, current favorite RP situations you've been part of. That's a hard one. Let's see. I'd say probably one of my most favorite recently was the RP we did in the Winding Woods, where you all hunted down the dastardly thief who was stealing all your supplies from the camp, and you found out that it wasn't in fact a malicious act, but one out of desperation. And the emotions that the ponies felt after finding that out and finding out the information of the crystallization process, that was quite fun. I am a big lover of dropping lore. And dropping lore through roleplay and adverse, interesting twists is a good time. Looking through to see what other questions there are. Okay. What if you can't match the other person's post? There's nothing wrong with that. You don't have to post anything more than you're comfortable with. The most important part of role-playing that some people seem to forget is that role-playing is for fun. It's a hobby. Not unlike playing Dungeons and Dragons or perhaps playing a video game. It's there to entertain you. The only difference is that there's a bit more thought involved when writing up your posts. That's about it. Role-playing at your own length and at your own speed is perfectly acceptable. Yeah. I'm personally not a fan of setting a length for posts. I'm completely of the mind that as long as you're having fun, that's all that matters. Mind you, there are rules to follow sometimes, and I will get to those in the fundamentals of role-playing once we're done with this little question session. But the most important thing, as I've said, is fun. You're here to enjoy yourself and to write, to create something with someone else that you greatly enjoy, and you'll look back on with fond memories. I know that I personally can look back on a few role plays that I've been a part of in the past and fondly remember almost every detail. There's also a few role plays that I've had the same thing, but all the negative details such as character death or character drama or such not so nice positive things. But I remember them because they were dramatic and they meant something. How do I feel about D&D? I actually started role-playing through Dungeons & Dragons. I started with D&D A, Advanced D&D. And let me tell you, that is not a very good way to start D&D. Oh boy, that was a rough session. I think my character died within the first 10 minutes, which was hilarious, but also very sad. However, D&D is a great stepping stone for roleplay, especially in this day and age, where D&D is at its most popular that it's ever been. D&D's popularity has exploded thanks to shows like Critical Role and a few other series whose names I completely forget because I forgot to write them down. Thankfully, I will say this, Second Life role-playing is very, very forgiving. Most people understand that there's life outside of the game, you know. So, sure, let's use Twiggy as an example. We were doing a roleplay the other day, and Twiggy had to go take Belfry somewhere for a few minutes and then do some laundry. And rather than being like, oh, hey guys, I gotta leave, I gotta go, or, don't, wait for me to post, Twiggy very politely said, hey, I gotta go do this thing. I'm just gonna stick around and keep watching the RP. My character is over here just making small talk, okay? Good stuff. Good stuff. That's a good way to excuse yourself from a scene for an undetermined amount of time. But if it's a one-on-one person roleplay might screech to a halt, I will say. But a multiple person roleplay should continue normally. It is very clever. Alright, so I'm going to end the question session there for now. And we're going to move on to the fundamentals of role-playing. So, my questions to you are, do you know the fundamentals of role-playing? The 3 rules that should never be broken. Those are god-modding, metagaming, and sometimes referred to as auto-hitting. Does anyone know what those are? Let me see a raise of hooves and or paws and claws. Seems most of you are well acquainted. God modding is the act of being basically invincible, or dodging everything that comes your way. It's heavily, heavily frowned upon within the community as a whole. Your character can be strong, sure. There's no problem with having a strong character, like, say, Princess Celestia. Princess Celestia, in the lore, is essentially a godlike entity. However, as we've seen constantly in the series, she can be bested and outsmarted. She would be considered a non-god modder, an incredibly powerful character who can be trumped, as it were. I will say, there are times where I've seen god modding work, but I do not recommend it. I do not recommend you try it, because it can be quite scene ruining. It can ruin the entire feeling, which is a shame. Then there's metagaming. Metagaming can be summed up as using knowledge you know out of character in character. If your character does, if you know something out of character, and your character doesn't know that information, but you use that information in the roleplay, that's metagaming. Now, while considered a minor offense in some groups, it can ruin the flow of roleplay, and can be, I suppose it could in some cases be considered quote-unquote cheating. I would suggest otherwise that it is not cheating, but rather a lack of remembrance of what your character might remember, unless you're doing it maliciously to quote-unquote win a scenario. I highly recommend against metagaming, but there are times where it's sometimes necessary, unfortunately. Yes, okay, a good example of metagaming. Let's say a dastardly murder has been committed, and no pony knows who did it, who done the deed, right? In character, at least. No one knows in character who did it. But out of character, let's say, I know who the character was. It was Twiggy with the knife in the back of the classroom. Twiggy stabbed them repeatedly 38 times, and they died. The end. Well, I know that out of character. I knew that out of character. I know that out of character, but for me to, in character, just blurt out, Twiggy's the one who did it, Twiggy is the murderer, well, that would ruin the entire flow of the RP. It would completely ruin the intrigue and the scene, the moment, everything. It would completely ruin the mystique, the entire plot of that one roleplay. Does that make any sense? Agreed, kinda. Getting directly to the point is no fun. Half the fun of things like that are the mystery and figuring out who done it. I think that's why people like things like murder dramas and such. But you understand my point. Metagaming can ruin an entire scene or even an entire plot line. Yes. Twiggy brings up a good point. Now, the final one is strange. The final fundamental of role-playing is a strange one, because it's more of a catch-all sort of rule. Ah, yes, that's a good point. Sometimes it's good to keep a checklist of what your character remembers, what your character knows. Anyway, the final fundamental of role-playing is as follows. Auto-hitting and playing other characters' characters for them, forcing the other characters to bend to your whim, essentially. Let's say I make a post. I'm posting for myself and Twiggy. But rather than Twiggy playing her character, I've typed up what Twiggy's doing instead to fit my needs, rather than what Twiggy wants Twiggy to do. Yes, always let another character react. That is a very, very important rule in role-playing. And once we get to the combat section, it will be even more important. But we're not doing combat right now. It can sometimes fall under the purview of god modding as well. But for the most part, I've seen it referred to as auto-hitting or auto-playing, which is a weird way to say it, but I understand the confusion. Auto-hitting, as well, is, well, rather self-explanatory. Writing an action that you do automatically, does. Rather than saying, oh, I attempted this, it's, no, this happened and you just have to deal with it. And that's just no good. There are times where this might happen, say, in a Dungeon Master scenario in D&D. Let's say you've fallen into a trap. Well, you fell into a trap. There's not much else you can do but spring the trap, as it were. So the Dungeon Master may say, hey, you fell into some spikes, you're taking some damage. Rather than saying, oh hey, you're about to fall into spikes, do this thing. Yes, just give everyone a chance to respond. A chance to react. Yes. Now, this isn't technically part of this section of the class, but I will bring it up. Most people, in the case of role-playing, won't mind small things happening to their character. Like, say, I walked up and booped someone on the snoot. I don't think anyone would have an issue with something like that. Or maybe I'm patting someone on the back or giving them a pat on the head. Small gestures like that in roleplay are usually fine to just do. Small gestures, small movements, just things that don't really matter that much. But when you get into things that are more aggressive or more more personal, it's usually better to attempt said thing rather than just do said thing. Or if you're not sure, you can always say, if they'll allow, this will happen. That's what I like to do sometimes. It's like, oh, I could hug you, sure, but I'm going to see if your character will allow me to hug them rather than just assuming. Yes, consent is key. Though there are times in roleplay where OOC consent is required, but in-character consent is not. Like, say a villain is doing some bad thing to you, and you're like, oh no, don't do the bad thing, and the villain's like, haha, I'm doing the bad thing. Like, say, Twiggy decided to go mad with power and become, what's a good nightmare trigger name? Twiggy Dongle or something, I don't know. She becomes the big evil, and Iron's like, oh no, what are you going to do? And Twiggy's like, I'm going to smoke all the weed in the world, and no one can stop me. And he says, no, you can't do that. And she's like, yeah, I can. And then she does it. There are things like that, as you can guess, that, things like that that'll just happen in role-playing, but that leads to good storytelling and good character development. I've already written Twiggy Dongle down, it's canon now. I'm making a mod now, oh no. Yes, oh yes, that's another good point. Winning can be fun, I will admit. Winning in a roleplay, say you're in a fight, winning feels good. But losing often leads to better character development. Do not be afraid to lose. Do not be afraid to put your characters through hardships to make them better. Or, in some cases, make them worse. I've had a character who once was a mighty warrior who'd fallen on hard times, and people would challenge him to fights, and he would get his butt kicked constantly, just up and down the block. But it made him a stronger person over time because he started to learn what his faults were in fights, so he can grow and learn from them. Obviously, fights are not the purview of Equestria, but you can understand what I mean. Catharsis, yes, catharsis and all that. Eternal understands as well, yes. Getting a character who gets knocked down but gets back up again is the fundamentals and some of the greatest way you can develop a character. Now, so, the way this class is going to work is I plan on doing multiple sessions. This is just the first introductory class. The other classes will focus more on other such things and be a little less formal than this. This is just the first introduction class, and I had to get ready and spruced up, as it were. So, what I'm going to do for all of you is, since we're going to be passing out, what's it called? Since this first class takes place with character creation, I'm going to hand out the Winding Woods character application and a set of rules. These rules are what are going to be with you. This character is going to be with you the entire time you take part of the class. This character will be your character in the class. And as we go on, as we continue the class over the few sessions that we'll have, I want you to develop and actively write down your character's motivations, your character's goals, desires, and such. However, as an addendum to that, those of you that fill out the application in full and follow the rules will be considered canon to the Winding Woods and allowed to roleplay there as your heart contents. So, if you're craving roleplay between classes, you'll have plenty of it there to have. You'll have a place and a home to roleplay at your own discretion. Maybe there will. Ooh, I want to write that down. I'm going to add that to the list. Possibly we will have a mystery episode. So, I'm going to... Let me make sure I actually have a copy of the rules on me, because if I don't, I'm going to feel like a big dummy. I do. Excellent. Oh, another thing I'm going to pass out is a pony role-playing tool. Role-playing tools are something that are exclusive to Second Life. It is one of the only ways that most people on Roleplay Sims roleplay. It creates a bit of information above your head, and in doing so, it also allows you to post as said character rather than yourself. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pass it out to each and every one of you, as well as a copy of the lore and the character application, and then we'll go over the character application as it goes. Yes, Stalwart has offered a... Yes. So, what I'm going to do now is I'm going to post a link to the Google Doc profile. And we use Google Doc because note cards aren't that great, and it's easier for everyone to just use Google Docs for record-keeping's sake. Gotta keep that spreadsheet updated. Allow me to get it real quick because I forgot to pull it up like a big dummy. Alright. This is the Google Doc link. What you want to do is once you open it, you want to click File and make a copy. Once that's done, I will hand out the lore book and the rules, which there aren't too many rules, to be honest. I like to keep it loosey and goosey, as it were. Says Twiggy. Twiggy's playing a sketch boy. Sketch pony. All he does is draw and run very fast. Sometimes he screams. He also fell asleep once. Yes, that's true. I'm about to pass out the rule set. Let's see. This is going to be a little difficult. I'm not sure how I'm going to do this. One by one. Let's do it that way because I'm I'm nothing if not lazy. Whoa, maybe I can just put them in a box. Nah, forget it. I'll just do it one by one. Okay, what else is here? Is that everybody? No, it's not everybody. You do not have to fill this out immediately. You can take your time. Okay, Starlight. In Winding Woods, we're a canon-adjacent roleplay. We focus almost entirely upon the last 2 seasons of My Little Pony. So any creature that you see in My Little Pony is completely playable. We've even had some not-so-canon creatures show up, like half zebra, half unicorns, natural bat ponies, things like that. If you want to play something a bit more unique, feel free to talk to me about it. This is a class, after all. I'm here to work with you to help you however I can. Yes, you can wait till the next class if you want to. There's no rush. Oh, I should probably pass out the lore. I just realized I didn't do that. I'm a big dummy. The lore will help you figure out your character, perhaps, a bit better. It should give you a bit more understanding of the situation. Also, let me know if I forgot anybody. Pretty sure I got everybody with the rules. Pretty sure. I could be horribly, horribly mistaken, however. Oh, that's just because the Winding Woods sim is also a private home sim as well. Like, there's a small home build for me and one other person there. So just don't go in there. That's about it. No, Kaida, please. That's where I do the forbidden RP. By the way, I will, if people request it, I will do it. I will do a lecture on that kind of RP, the spicy variety, if people want that. That'll definitely be an after dark sort of kind of deal, because that is a very, very different topic that I'm not okay talking about when people are awake. Kinda over here like I'm already a master, I don't need anything. Yes, you can, Diamond Dog Ponies, that's a hard sell. If you can make it work, though, I'm willing to give it a try. You can just play as Diamond Dogs, however. You can also play as Catacans as well. You know, the creatures from the movie that were all like cat people. Like I said, if it's a sentient-ish creature, you can probably play it. As for the extent of hybrids, I'm pretty open as long as the species are close enough to be the same. So if it's an equine, it's probably compatible with other equines. Though, I will say changelings may be a hard sell for hybrids, because they're so different. Dragon ponies are perfectly okay. I don't mind dragon ponies, because dragons are weird. Heraldic unicorn, I don't know what that is. I'm gonna have to pass on the changeling dragons. That's, again, changelings have their own weird life cycle. They're not technically ponies, they're actually insects.
Ooh.
Sheep pigs, I'm down. Go for it. Okay, the only, like, super hard rule on pony stuff is alicorns are not allowed, because lore-wise, it doesn't make sense for there to be more alicorns than there already is. Okay, I would say a unicorn giraffe would be very funny to see, and I might be okay with letting that fly, because it'd be really goofy. Unicorn hippo. If you could pull off a unicorn hippo, I will let you play it. I don't know how you do it, but I'd let you play it. Because hippos do exist. We do know they exist in My Little Pony. Hippo is also known as water horse. True. True. Kirins are allowed. We have a lot of Kirins. Dual corns are totally okay. I don't mind seeing unicorns with 2 horns. I think it's very fun. Two unicorns, that's a good one. Hippogriff unicorn. That's a weird one, because hippogriffs are technically birds. I'd have to sit down and really think about that one, but if you can make it convincing enough, I'd probably okay it. Unfortunately, humans are not in My Little Pony. Friendship is Magic. They are in the first generation of My Little Pony, and as much as I love G1, I'd rather not have humans in My Little Pony. About the closest thing to a human you'll get is the cat-like species from the My Little Pony movie. That's about the closest thing to a human you could play. That are the bird people from that movie, which I don't know the name of because their race is weird. Their species is strange and I don't understand it.
I am a dog, and I do not understand your people things.
Diamond dogs are technically bipedal, but they also walk on all fours sometimes as well. Diamond dogs are weird, but I love them. They're goofy. They don't like whining. Humans, as I said, are not allowed. Inventing types are very fun. And in the Winding Woods, it would be a great help, considering the dire straits they're currently in. Cookie unicorn? What do you mean by that? Like a unicorn made of cookies, or like a unicorn that bakes cookies? Oh no. Well, I will say that I don't think the cookie unicorn will survive very long. We have a bat pony who likes to eat sweet things. But if it's a unicorn that bakes cookies, I think it'll be fine. My purview is that in pony roleplay, the simpler the backstory, the easier it is to develop the character. overall, the class is here for your enjoyment. You don't have to take it seriously. It is a simple thing to do. And your only homework would be to fill out the application before the next session of the class, which I don't know when that'll be, but I will talk to Twiggy and we'll figure it out. Yes, that too. In fact, Twiggy and all of the staff here at the Winnie Hollow University have set up a great location for school-based shenanigans. Yes, if you play a non-pony, you can just put NA for the cutie mark section. Role-playing is a great time. It's also a good way to kill time as well. If you're really, really in the mood, an entire day can go by in a roleplay. I've had roleplays go for like 10 hours, and then I'm just like, whoa, where did time go? I was having so much fun, I didn't even realize. I know that feel, Bonnie. I've done that too. Yes, it is entirely possible to do RP as you come. Like, it doesn't have to be super long. Like I said in my opening statement, it can be as simple as a how do you do between two characters. It doesn't have to be some long, super grand adventure every day. It doesn't have to be the longest mile or anything of that sort. As long as you're having fun, doesn't matter the length of the roleplay. I've had roleplays that have lasted hours. I've had roleplays that have lasted minutes. Yes, Akaida is correct. There are times where the RP will be made about a single person, and they'll steal the focus of the scene away. And while that can be annoying, it is a fact of role-playing that it will happen at some point. Psst, which reminds me, Kaida, after class I need to talk to you about affiliations and canonical shit. I want to make Freezy and junk. I want to do some fun stuff with Freezy. Good place. I like it. Yes, you do have to. Sharing the spotlight is very important in a roleplay. Because you're not the only character there. There is no main character in a roleplay. Everyone is a character. No matter how active or how large or how small or how powerful or how weak they are, everyone is a character, has the same amount of stakes as everyone else. Yes, once you finish the applications, just send them my way. You can find me on here, or you can find me in the Winnie Hollow Discord as Starfall. Just send them to me in IM or DM, here or there. Barky, most of our roleplays take place about midday through the day to a little bit into the night on SLT. So the easiest way to find roleplay on the sim is to join the Discord, because that's where people will poke one another for roleplay. And also, if people are online and you're part of the group, you can also bug the group in Second Life in the group chat. Tales of the Winding Winds personal Discord. You can find it at the landing point. Kinda. Unironically, I played a anime protagonist in a roleplay one time, who literally his entire thing was he was born with blue hair, so he was destined to be the main character, but he didn't want to be the main character, so he got out of doing everything he possibly could to not be the main character. It was very funny. I very much enjoyed that character. It's funny, Twiggy thinks she's the main character, but since she's become a princess, she's become the Celestia of the game. Which means all she does is sit around and eat cake and smoke weed. Oh, that's a good time. Oop, I forgot to mention, if you are going to send me it through Google Docs, make sure you click the share button in the corner, and make sure it's link sharing is on, because otherwise I will not be able to look at it. That's like the one fault with Google Docs. I mean, you can touch butts in RP, but you might get slapped in the mouth for it. When you're finished with your applications on Google Docs, go up to the corner where it says share image. I mean, not share image. It says share. It's the blue button. Click on that. It'll open up a small window, and make sure it says on the bottom where it says get link, change it so it says anyone on the internet can view. Because that means that you'll actually be able to share the application. Otherwise, I will not be able to see it. Oh, Barky, you have to go to File and then click Make Copy. All right, I forgot to hand out the RP tool. Oh my goodness, I am so scatterbrained today. Oop, that's not what I wanted to do. Dang it. Is that everyone? I think that's everyone. Oh, using dice in RP is totally fine. Oftentimes in the Winding Woods, if something's going on, I'll occasionally ask for rolls of dice to see outcomes of certain things. Mostly things dealing with NPCs. Sparky, I'll help you set up everything after class, okay? Which is pretty soon, because we're almost done. I think the last thing I wanted to talk about before we go, the very last thing, absolute last thing, completely total, final thing. Don't be afraid to get weird with it. Just have fun. Stretch yourself out. See what you can do, and don't be too worried if you feel like you're not up to snuff. Writing can be difficult. Writing can be a pain sometimes, a slog if you're not feeling it or in the mood. But it's entirely worth it. Not only will role playing help you, relax or tell stories or let your creativity fly, but in doing role playing, you'll also learn valuable skills, such as proper grammar, how to structure a sentence correctly, and other such things. Filling out applications, well, that can help you in the real world. I've seen people who roleplay take that knowledge into building things like applications for jobs, applications for applications, all sorts of wondrous and interesting things. Ultimately, role-playing is a fun hobby, but it can have some genuinely good changes. Not changes, sorry, that's not the right word. It can have some good, I guess it could teach you a lot of very good life skills at times. I know there's a bit of a reach, a bit of a stretch, but it's helped me, and I've seen it help other people as well. So as long as you're having fun, as long as you're enjoying yourself and letting your creativity soar, that's all that matters in role-playing. It's all that matters. And I think that will be the end of the class for today. I'm going to stick around, hang out, if you guys want to talk. But as of now, class is over. Well, I'm glad you had a good time. Also, to answer your question, whoever asked about the dragons, yes, they do eat crystals. Just don't eat the black ones.